Napoleon Bonaparte, a Corsican artillery officer, rose to prominence during the French Revolution. His military genius and ambition were evident from the start. He achieved a series of stunning victories in Italy and Egypt, capturing the imagination of the French people. Napoleon seized power in a coup in 1799, becoming first consul and later emperor of the French in 1804. Napoleon's reign was marked by constant warfare as he sought to expand French power across Europe. He modernized the French army and introduced innovative tactics. He won victory after victory against Austria, Prussia, and Russia. Napoleon's victories led to the creation of the First French Empire, encompassing much of continental Europe. Napoleon's conquests spread the ideals of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, and fraternity, across Europe. He implemented numerous reforms, including the Napoleonic Code, a modern legal system that influenced many countries. The Napoleonic Code standardized French law and is still the basis for civil law in many countries today. However, Napoleon's ambition and quest for dominance ultimately sowed the seeds of his downfall. His relentless pursuit of power and control ultimately led to the creation of a powerful coalition of nations determined to see his downfall. Napoleon's ambition ultimately led to his downfall. In 1812, Napoleon embarked on a disastrous invasion of Russia with his Grande Armée. The campaign was a disaster from the start. The vast distances, harsh weather conditions, and scorched earth tactics employed by the Russians took a heavy toll on Napoleon's forces. The Russians, led by General Mikhail Kutuzov, refused to engage in a decisive battle. They lured Napoleon deeper and deeper into Russia, stretching his supply lines and weakening his army. The Battle of Borodino, a bloody but inconclusive engagement, exemplified the challenges Napoleon faced. The French army reached Moscow in September 1812, but the city was largely deserted and in flames. With winter approaching, Napoleon was forced to order a retreat. The retreat from Moscow was a harrowing ordeal for the French army. Freezing temperatures, starvation, and constant harassment by Russian forces decimated Napoleon's once mighty army. The disastrous Russian campaign marked a turning point in Napoleon's fortunes. His enemies, sensing weakness, formed a new coalition against him. Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, and Sweden joined forces to drive Napoleon out of Central Europe. Napoleon's weakened forces faced a series of defeats in 1813, culminating in the Battle of Leipzig in October 1813. This three-day battle, known as the Battle of Nations, involved hundreds of thousands of soldiers and was one of the largest battles fought in Europe up to that point. The Allied victory at Leipzig shattered Napoleon's hold on Germany and forced him to retreat back to France. In 1814, the coalition invaded France, capturing Paris and forcing Napoleon to abdicate. Section 4. The War of Liberation. The period following Napoleon's abdication was marked by a complex interplay of political forces. The victorious Allies restored the French monarchy with Louis XVIII, brother of the executed Louis XVI, assuming the throne. However, the new king's attempts to roll back many of the changes brought about by the revolution proved unpopular. Meanwhile, Napoleon was exiled to the island of Elba, off the coast of Italy. However, he remained a potent symbol of French power and ambition. He closely followed events in France and sensed an opportunity to regain his throne. In 1815, Napoleon escaped from Elba and landed in France. He rallied his supporters and marched on Paris, where he was welcomed by cheering crowds. Louis XVIII fled, and Napoleon once again became Emperor of the French. This period, known as the 100 Days, marked a dramatic return to power for Napoleon. Section 5. The 100 Days and Waterloo. Napoleon's return to power was met with alarm by the European powers. They immediately formed a seventh coalition to oppose him. Napoleon knew that he had to act quickly and decisively to defeat the coalition before it could fully mobilize its forces. He raised a new army and prepared for battle. The Battle of Waterloo, fought on the 18th of June in 1815, was the final confrontation between Napoleon and the Seventh Coalition. Napoleon's forces faced a combined British and Prussian army under the command of the Duke of Wellington and Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher, respectively. The battle was a close-fought affair, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. However, the arrival of Prussian reinforcements in the late afternoon tipped the balance in favor of the Allies. The French army was routed, and Napoleon's hopes of restoring his empire were dashed. Section 6. The Legacy of Napoleon. Following his defeat at Waterloo, Napoleon was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, where he died in 1821. Napoleon's reign had a profound impact on Europe and the wider world. His military campaigns led to the deaths of millions of people and redrew the map of Europe. However, he also left behind a complex and contradictory legacy. Napoleon was a military genius who revolutionized warfare. His innovative tactics and strategies were studied by military leaders for generations. He was also a ruthless dictator who suppressed dissent and waged war relentlessly. His ambition led to the deaths of millions and the suffering of many more. Napoleon was a product of the French Revolution. He spread its ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity across Europe. But he also betrayed many of these ideals in his pursuit of power. He abolished feudalism, promoted religious tolerance, and implemented legal reforms that had a lasting impact on many countries. However, he also centralized power, suppressed dissent, and established a police state. Section 7. Conclusion. Napoleon Bonaparte was a complex and contradictory figure who left an indelible mark on history. He was a military genius, a ruthless dictator, and a product of his time. His rise and fall were shaped by the tumultuous events of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. His legacy continues to be debated today, but there is no doubt that he was one of the most significant figures in modern history.